Welcome to Numina, the only place that's reverse engineered the College Board. We're going to show you how to solve these problems very quickly with mathematical precision and with 100% confidence. That means you no longer have to rely on the answer key, but purely on the power of your knowledge. The mind is a powerful tool, and we're going to show you how to use it. Here's how it's done.
Question 13. The iris, the colored part of the eye, contains delicate patterns that are unique to each person, offering a powerful means of identification. Alright, we're going to go through each of the choices, A, B, C, and D, and we're going to look for errors, possible errors, for each of these choices. And if we don't find any error, then we can go ahead and confidently circle E. So let's get started. Choice A, contains. So, Anthony Sonsonim, here's a verb. What are we going to look for when we have a verb underlined?
Well, let's think about the potential errors this underlying part of the question can cause. It's a verb. So, obviously, and it's written in the present tense, so obviously we're going to have to do the subject-verb check. We're also going to have to see if the verb tense is correct.
Sounds good. Okay.
So let's look at the subject here. The subject here is the iris. I know some of you are looking at the colored part of the eye, but everything in between those commas, that's what we call an appositive. So we can get rid of those. That's also a modifier. It's a noun, function as an adjective describing more about the iris. So the subject here is the iris, and the iris is singular. It has an S, but it's singular. Okay. It's not in the plural form.
Got it. So far, so good. Subject verb checks out.
Also, we have to do a verb tense check. If you look at the sentence, you'll see that it's a factual statement.
Why is that important?
Well, factual statements, in theory, are forever true. So this is why when we describe characters in books, we also use the present tense, because we're talking about something that holds true forever and ever and ever. So anytime we have a scientific statement or a statement of knowledge or some type of fact, we want to keep it in the simple present tense. So in this case, the iris contains delicate patterns seems to work. There's nothing wrong with this tense.
Okay, so just a real quick summation of that point before we move forward. So for factual statements, scientific truths, things that are always true, I can go ahead and use the present tense.
Absolutely. That you're supposed to use a simple present tense.
Great. Okay, great. Alright, so it looks like we are okay here for subject, verb, and verb tense. So A looks like it checks out. There's no errors contained in A. Let's move on. Let's look at B, R. The iris, the colored part of the eye, contains delicate patterns that are unique to each person. We have another verb here. So, Anthony Sonsoni, would I be correct to assume that we're going to check for subject, verb again?
Absolutely.
And possibly verb tense?
You bet.
Alright, well, let's see. There we go. Again, guys, the points at the bottom are there for your convenience. We're trying to help guide you to look for specific points that appear often on the College Board SAT. For verbs, again, we usually check for subject, verb, and verb tense. Sometimes verb form. Here we're not testing for verb form. We did a quick scan, and it doesn't look like that's going to be an error here for verb forms. So let's go back and look at the two that we have here: subject, verb, and verb tense. We have a plural verb, are. What's the noun or the subject that matches and that connects with this verb here? It's not the iris. The verb that matches with iris we already passed up was contains. But I see patterns, or in that. I'm a little confused here, Anthony Sonsonim. What's the noun here?
Well, the subject of the verb are is technically patterns. And that, as a relative pronoun, is replacing the noun pattern. So that must hold the number of the noun that it's replacing consistent.
I got it. Okay. All right. So that is replacing patterns.
So yeah, exactly. So if patterns were to be pattern, the singular form, then the correct verb in B should be is, not are.
Okay. So patterns is plural. So then we need our plural verb are. Okay, that looks like it checks out. And what about our verb tense?
Well, again, this is part of the truth statement that the whole sentence is trying to inform us of. That
Oh,
the
okay.
iris
I remember
contains
now.
delicate patterns that are unique to each person. So we're fine here, I think.
Okay, great. So right next to it, we have C. Unique to. Patterns that are unique to each person. I see a preposition here, and I know that I'm supposed to be cautious of prepositions, right? Why again should I be cautious of prepositions?
Well, oftentimes prepositions involve idioms, but again, don't worry about idioms. Do not chase idioms. Most of the questions on the test do not involve difficult or complicated idioms. So if you're not sure if to is correct, if this is a correct preposition, don't worry about it for now. The College Board likes to repeat certain idioms, and we will feed you those idioms. So unless we say that this is an idiom error, please do not chase idiom questions.
Okay, I was worried for no reason, man. So let me tone it down a little bit, and I'll just go with it for now. So unique to is okay.
It's fine, and we just need to do a modifier check and see if the adjective unique works here, and it does because we have the form of the verb to be are in choice B, and any verb in to be requires either a noun or an adjective to follow it. So in this case, we have an adjective, and this works out.
Great.
This works as well.
Awesome. All right, so let's look at our last choice then before we get to E. D, means of. Offering a powerful means of identification. Again, is this possible? Possibly an idiom error?
What did we say about idioms? Should we chase idiom errors?
That's right. We shouldn't chase idioms. Okay. Alright, let me not go down that road and let me not fall into that trap. Okay, so don't chase idioms, don't chase idioms, don't chase idioms.
Right. Unless we specifically tell you that this is an idiom commonly used in the test, you really do not need to chase idioms.
Okay. So, well, I see that we marked down number agreement.
Well, the reason we did that was because some of you may think that means is the plural form of mean, but that's not actually the case. If you look at the article A, offering a powerful means, you'll see that either that means is actually a singular noun. So means takes on a different meaning from mean. A mean is the average. Means is a method of doing something. Or the process of doing something. So here, we just threw that number agreement in for those of you who may find English to be challenging because it's not your primary language. But you don't really have a number agreement error at all. Means is perfectly fine.
Great. So a means of is a way or method or process of doing something. Okay.
Exactly. And what do we say about idioms?
Don't chase idioms, don't chase idioms, don't chase idioms.
Great. Now, could this be a dictionary? Well, we threw this in because some of you, again, may have thought that means is misspelled. It should just be mean. Of course, if you're an American student, You've probably heard the expression, the ends justify the means, or a means to an end, uh, so many times that you know that D works. But for those of you uh, that are not familiar with this expression, we thought that diction, for you, you may have thought that diction may be a possible error, but it's not. So really, D is fine as well.
Great. So I think we're only left with one choice.
So let's look at E. Why did we circle E? Because we went through every single possible grammatical error that A, B, C, or D could possibly contain. And we eliminated all those options. So we can confidently circle E. We're not guessing E. We just know for 100%, we know 100% sure with rather 100% certainty that A, B, C, and D contains no error.
Great. So we mentioned a lot of things in this slide, Anthony's the name. We talked about subject verb agreements. We talked about idioms and number agreements and verb tense. If I'm still confused on some of those points, how can I learn more?
Well, lot of the language that we use here, the technical grammatical terms that we use here, are actually grammar that you should have learned in school or that you need to learn to do well on this test. We teach a lot of that stuff on our website. So go to our archives, and we really recommend that you go through our grammar primer series before you watch these videos. If you are good with grammar already, I'm sure you'll make great use of these clips. But if you still need to start from the basics, go to our website, go through the clips, and then come back to these questions, and you will understand them much clearer.
Thanks. I think I'll do that. So answer for 13 is E, no error.
Numina, empowering minds.